Hey guys, today we're in the book of First Chronicles chapter 8. Okay, so this starts out with Benjamin. Now, we have already read back in chapter 7, starting at verse 6 through 12, the descendants of Benjamin. Here in chapter 8, it is a more in-depth genealogy of the tribe of Benjamin. Now, why? Why do we have this over any other tribe? Well, let me try to answer that question. For one, Saul, the first king of Israel, is going to come out of this tribe. So the writer of Chronicles is connecting dots from the beginning of time to where they are now. And so he has to get to the kings, right? And so the first king is Saul, and that's where he's going to connect the dots. Secondly, is that the tribe of Benjamin was a southern tribe. If you remember, when Israel split into two nations, the north and the south, right? 10 tribes in the north, 2 tribes in the south. The 2 tribes in the south were Benjamin and Judah. And kind of Benjamin just kind of got sucked into Judah, and we just call that Judah, and we call the 10 Israel, right? But Benjamin, the tribe, was in and around the space of Jerusalem, the city, the land, the mountain of Jerusalem. So here the writer in Chronicles is spending a great deal of time on the tribe of Benjamin, one, to connect the dots to Saul, okay? So we can get through the history of the kings. Number 2, when the exiles, when all of the Jews are now free, the Persians have defeated the Babylonians, and the Persians said, you can go wherever you want. This small group of people, this remnant of Israel, has now come back to where? They've come back to Jerusalem, to the place of the Benjamites, all right? And so here we get a detailed version of the tribe of Benjamin to connect dots for these Israelites who have come back to Jerusalem, and they're starting to rebuild the temple, rebuild the wall, rebuild Jerusalem. And there's a lot of places. This is not just a genealogy, though it is. It's a genealogy with places, with towns in and around Jerusalem. So the writer is reminding them, hey, God had a plan here before, and now he still has a plan here now. He's reminding them, recalling them how great the promised land was and what their plan was. The plan has not changed, that Israel is God's children, that he would spare a remnant, and they shall bring the light of the world out from them, right? The King of the King, the new David, the Messiah, will come out of Israel. And so he's just reminding them in a very detailed genealogy with a map attached, with spatial towns and cities and where some of these people lived. So a lot of these are names that doesn't mean much. A couple names I want to point out. Verse 33, it says, Ner was the father of Kish, and Kish was the father of Saul. Saul, the first king of Israel. Ner, we've learned back in 1 Samuel that Ner was his kind of his nickname. His real name was Abil, okay? Abil, back in 1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 1. And so he's just connecting knots. So if you kind of see that and you're like, I haven't seen that before. Well, it's because he goes by a different name. Ner's kind of his unofficial name. Abil is his official name. And then we see that Saul had Jonathan, right? David's best friend. We know that. And he had other children, and the son of Jonathan was Meribah. We know him by a different name, Meribah. And when we read it in the English, we say Meribah, but his real name would have been Meribah, right? Named after the Canaanite god Baal. The Jews, Israel, changed his name because they did not want to say Baal. And so we know him as Meribah Bosheth. And this is the name that we kept reading through 1 Samuel, right? So this is just Jonathan's, one of Jonathan's kids. And so it is kind of, I'm just connecting dots here that when you read, you're like, is that a new person? No, it's not a new person. It's just when you were reading through Samuel, Samuel wasn't going to keep writing Baal in a book to go in the Bible that God wanted to say, right? So Jews, Israel, the Israelites he would have had a nickname. He would have had something that they were comfortable with calling him. And so we know that as Mephibosheth. And so just to connect that line. And so it goes through and it goes all the way through Saul and it continues all the way through the kings and it keeps going all the way down until where they are right now, right? And these are, and all of these were the Benjamites. And so we can kind of see this trace from the first king to the end, right? And so once again, we're just giving a genealogy of teaching the Israelites who they are after the exile. We are telling them that God hasn't forgotten them. He still has a plan for them. And a new king is still on the way. Because why? Because all of the genealogies are still going. Though Israel got removed from the promised land, God's promise has not stopped. And that's the most important point as we're reading through these genealogies. Hope that makes a little bit more sense, and we will see you tomorrow in chapter 9. God bless.